I never thought I'd be telling this story, but I know I'm not the only one going through it. And maybe, just maybe, if I say it out loud, someone else won't feel so alone. My name is Lisa, and I'm a single mom to two incredible boys. I've spent the last few years surviving something I wouldn't wish on anyone: an emotionally, verbally, financially abusive relationship with the father of my kids. Let's call him Sean. This isn't just about custody battles or disagreements, this is about control, fear, survival. It's about how the system fails to hold people like Sean accountable, allowing them to hide behind legal processes while continuing the abuse. Let me take you back. Sean and I met in New York in late 2016. At that time, I had my own apartment, a stable job, and a close-knit circle of friends. I was independent, grounded, and living life on my terms. The relationship had red flags from the beginning, but at that time, they just seemed like weird quirks. Little things I'd brush off. In 2018, I became pregnant with our son. A week after our son was born, I was recovering, exhausted, and navigating new motherhood. Sean had made a comment to me that "you're the woman, this is your job" when it came to childcare. I remember the sting of those words. It caught me off guard. It was the first time I truly felt something was off. That comment wasn't just thoughtless, it was revealing. It marked the moment Sean stopped hiding his beliefs about men and women. From then on, his true feelings began to surface. In late 2019, we moved to Los Angeles for Sean's job. That's when everything changed. I lost my job, my independence, and my support system. I became completely dependent on him, and I can see now that's exactly how he wanted it. The isolation wasn't accidental, it was the goal. Within the first week of arriving, I found out I wouldn't even have access to the car. I was on foot, pregnant, and juggling a 1-year-old, expected to navigate everything on my own. From there, things only unraveled further. The monthly allowance we had agreed on when I quit my job started shrinking, blamed on unexpected expenses. I wasn't allowed to sleep in the master bedroom. Sean said his sleep was more important since he was the one working. He popped sleeping pills throughout the night and claimed the room was his space to manage his insomnia. He promised I could use it on weekends, but that never actually happened. I wasn't allowed to visit friends, and if they came over, they weren't even allowed inside. On top of the constant gaslighting and misogynistic remarks, he refused to do anything when it came to caring for our son. No baths, no bottle washing, and never once waking up in the middle of the night. And if I managed to take a quick break to shower, go to a doctor's appointment, or just walk the dog, I'd come home to some form of punishment: a trashed house, cold shoulder, something to remind me who was in control. Oh, and all of this while I was pregnant with our second child. Our second son was born in April 2020, right as the world was shut down. And if things were hard before, they got 20 times harder. Suddenly, Sean had endless excuses for his controlling behavior. Sean was now working from home, but having him home didn't make things easier. It made everything worse. My anxiety spiked, and each day I felt like I was walking on eggshells. A few weeks after our second son was born, I was running on fumes, nights blurred by newborn cries and an 18-month-old who still needed me. One night, completely drained, I fell asleep sitting up while holding our baby. He walked in, saw me like that, and instead of offering help or concern, he scolded me and made me feel ashamed for being exhausted. Then he turned and went back to the other bedroom. I followed, hurt and angry. I was doing everything I could, and still all I got was criticism. He told me to leave the room. I didn't. I needed him to care. And then something in his eyes just shifted. It went cold, like a light switched off. He grabbed my arms and started shoving me into the hallway. I hit the wall, then again, and then I was on the floor. I got up, shaking, crying, and went into the bedroom. But the thing that never left me was the look in his eyes. They were empty, like he wasn't even there. That was the first time I saw that version of him, and it wasn't the last. When Sean and I met, I had a dog. She was my first baby. She moved with us, but from day one, he treated her like an inconvenience. Anytime I asked for help, he'd snap, "She's not my dog." So I'd strap our toddler into the stroller, juggle the newborn, and take her on walks myself. And this was no small task. And on the rare occasions he did stay with the boys while I took her out, my phone would light up with texts: "Where are you?" and "Hurry the fuck up." It got so bad, my dog started picking up on my stress, so she wouldn't even go to the bathroom outside and started having accidents in the house. Eventually, I had no choice but to send her to live with my mom. It broke my heart. I had her for 14 years. She'd been with me through so much. Looking back now, it was the right decision. I truly believe it gave her more years and spared her from what was still to come. In 2021, we moved to Orange County for more space. One of my best friends lived just a block away, and I was genuinely excited. I thought maybe this time would be different, but it didn't turn out the way I had envisioned. I was even more isolated with no access to the car, and if you're not familiar with Orange County, you need a car to get around. I still hadn't been allowed to fly home to see my friends or family since we moved to California in 2019. There was always an excuse, it was never the right time. Sean's behavior only escalated with the added control. When I'd finally get the boys down for the night, I'd sometimes try to sit outside in the backyard to relax or catch up with friends or family. But even that bothered him. Sean would text me, "Don't tell the neighborhood your business," or "There's plenty of rooms in the house to make calls," or "If you don't get back inside, I'm going to lock you out." But here's the thing, I didn't feel safe making calls inside. The entire house was armed with ADT and Ring, cameras, motion sensors, every window and door monitored. There was zero privacy. It felt like I was in prison, not a home. Sean would get alerts straight to his phone and immediately ask, "Why did you open the door?" or "Why was the gate unlatched?" If I even cracked a window, he'd come by and close it with no explanation. Just the rule, windows weren't to be open. It was like fresh air was forbidden. One time I just wanted a bit of fresh air in the bedroom, something small. He scolded me, saying, "It's fine if you don't care about your safety, but I'm going to protect the boys and myself." We lived in a gated community. There was no threat, just paranoia. I remember when he was applying for his residency card in New York, he once heard helicopters outside and genuinely believed they were for him. I laughed. I thought he was joking, but now I see what felt like a weird quirk back then was the beginning of something darker. Even joy had limits. If there was laughter, music, any hint of fun, Sean would shut it down. The music had to be so low you could barely hear it. Fun was something he couldn't control, so he made sure it didn't exist. In August 2021, as a birthday gift, I was finally added to the car insurance, but it wasn't really freedom. It came with strings. I wasn't allowed to keep a key on me. It had to stay in a designated spot. If I needed to use the car, I had to ask first. Even then, I was only permitted to drive to a few nearby parks. Never on the freeway. I had to share my location at all times. It wasn't about safety. It was about control dressed up as a favor. He was so entitled, I was expected to reset his seat position in the car every time I used it, because apparently pushing a button was too much of an inconvenience for him. He even left a helpful reminder, a post-it note stuck right by the garage door instructing me to remember. How thoughtful of him. While I was inside juggling bottles, diapers, and meltdowns, he spent his summers floating in the pool with beer in hand. He didn't ask for another, he signaled. A subtle lift of the hand or a tap on the can, like I was the hired help. The funny thing is, he actually did refer to me as the help. I wasn't his partner, I was his employee, and he was the boss, handing out crumbs and calling it a salary. If I pushed back, I was met with threats of having it withheld. He made me feel guilty for the cost of my health insurance, claiming it cost $1,000 a month just for me. I carried that guilt feeling like a financial burden, like I didn't deserve to be taken care of. Later, I found out it was a lie. His company had been reimbursing him the whole time. He used self-sacrifice as a way to manipulate and guilt trip me. I was miserable, depressed. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back at me. I dreaded waking up. Some nights I cried myself to sleep. I didn't fully understand what was happening, but my body did. It knew something was deeply wrong. I had shut down, isolated myself even more. I didn't have the words to explain what I was feeling, and I was too mentally, emotionally, and physically drained to try. Still, I blamed myself. I thought I was the problem, that I was crazy, that I was just being ungrateful. I wanted to die. This was abuse. Before I close, I want to take a moment to share the types of abuse I personally endured, because recognizing them is a first step to healing, and maybe, just maybe, hearing my story will help you name your own. Here are the types of abuse in my story and what they look like. Psychological abuse. He monitored all doors, windows, and movement in the house with ADT and Ring. He told me fresh air was a safety threat, even though we lived in a gated community. He scolded me for sitting outside, saying, "Don't tell the neighborhood your business." Financial abuse. I had no access to a vehicle and was dependent on him for transportation. He restricted and eventually reduced the allowance we agreed on. He lied about the cost of my health insurance to guilt trip me. I wasn't allowed to keep a car key on me and had to ask for permission to use it. Emotional abuse. He withheld affection and punished me for asking for help. He made demeaning comments like, "You're the woman, this is your job." He expected me to serve him drinks with gestures and called me the help. Isolation. I wasn't allowed to visit friends or have visitors inside our home. I hadn't been allowed to fly home to visit family since 2019. Even joy and laughter were discouraged. It had to be quiet or not happen at all. Gaslighting. He blamed me for everything that went wrong and made me feel like I was the problem. He minimized, denied, and twisted reality to make me doubt my own feelings. Physical abuse. He shoved me out of the bedroom and into the hallway twice. I fell and hit the wall, but he showed no concern, just a cold, empty stare. Control through guilt. I had to rehome my dog of 14 years because he wouldn't help and I was overwhelmed. He refused to care for her, saying she's not my dog. If any part of my story resonated with you, I hope it reminded you that you are not alone. Abuse takes many forms. Some leave bruises, others leave invisible scars. But every form matters. Every story matters. If you are in the dark, I hope my match sparked something in you. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this spoke to you, please consider subscribing. It helps me reach more people who need to hear this and reminds me that I'm not walking this road alone either. Until next time, take care of yourself and take up space.